curves, the water always finds its level.
What'd your teacher do?
She just didn't talk to me anymore. All she did was walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. I'm a flat earther. Hey, my name is Tristan, and I'm in second grade, and I asked my teacher to show me an experiment where water curves. She couldn't do it because it doesn't curve. The water always finds its level.
What'd your teacher do?
She just didn't talk to me anymore. All she did was walk away. And I was like, what is this about? What?
That's okay though. For being so young, you're very, very smart. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So keep up the good work, man, and stay flat, okay?
Okay, I'm a flat earther. She couldn't do it.
Rip this up for sound bites. This is awesome.
All right, welcome back to Anti-Religious Scripture Study. I am having technical difficulties already, so if
So am I.
the stream drops, I apologize in advance. It goes between running fine and telling me I've got dropped frame rates. It's like 1 minute it's excellent connection, and the next I don't know what's going on. So
And I lose internet completely and it keeps coming back. It's very weird this morning.
yeah.
All right.
So anyway, are you able to
I gotta share my screen again.
Yeah.
Oy. All right. I assume you can see Skype on the screen.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. Um, yeah, let's try to get through this as quick as possible so it doesn't cut us out.
Yeah, we're working on it.
All right, just Jack's disclaimer to the religious. If you believe it's wrong to study the scripture outside of your religion or denomination, if you believe your religious leaders or church fathers are incapable of having inherited anti-scriptural traditions of men, if you've already made up your mind about scripture, including the scripture shouldn't be studied at all, then the stream is not for you. To others, if you are open-minded to others' opinions, if you haven't made up your mind about scripture, if you've been turned off to religion but believe there's truth in scripture that may have been changed or hidden by religion, if you live according to scripture and like to dig in and discover more, then the stream is for you. We are looking at scripture in the original language using concordances or dictionaries for words as well as context from a non-religion perspective. We will as well have life experience discussion. We are not here to argue with others about theology or doctrine by the traditions of men, including Catholicism, Christianity, or Judaism. We will be discussing the importance of origins and show how religions contradict the scriptures. There you go. And I'm going to pull this back up and make this bigger. All right. Put on my parallel. There we go. So we can go over last week a little bit if you'd like.
Just a little recap.
Yeah. And it kind of like it plays into this week's chapter because it's kind of a, where they split up the chapters is not necessarily the best place because it doesn't really tell you. And this is a continuation of the last chapter, and it becomes complicated if you don't read things within its context.
Right.
So last week, we had yet another rebellion of a couple of families that are like, how come Moses and Aaron get to be the special boys? And they didn't want it. Like, it's not like they're like, oh, we want to be in charge and everything else like that. In fact, Moses tried to get out of it on multiple occasions. But they were constantly challenged, and every time they challenged Moses and Aaron, they weren't challenging them; they were charging Yah that put them in charge of, keeping the order and everything. So these people were like, "You guys go ahead and like try to burn incense before Yah, and we'll put, incense before Yah." And then, excuse me, and then they went to the main guy who started the uprising, and they're like, if you're with him, go over to his tent, and if not, then stay away from his tent. And Moshe said, if this is Yah, then these people will pass away as no men have passed away previously, which is the ground opening up and consuming the whole family, which it did. And the ones who backed him up were consumed with fire, and the fire, because they were going towards the tabernacle, and then Aaron and Moses went in on their behalf and stopped the spread of the fire, so that the whole camp wasn't burned up, just the rebellious ones were. So then we go to the next chapter, and Moshe is trying to make a marker to kind of remind them, like, don't test that, I have chosen Aaron and Moshe. So that's where this is continuing on from. That's the context. And context is very, very, very important. And the other thing I wanted to show you, that some may have not seen or have, that sometimes there's a little note up here that has a different verse number from the original. And that's because there's two main versions. Excuse me. 1 second. Sorry about that. There's two main versions of copies of Torah that exist today, and it's the Aleppo and Leningrad Codex. Codex just means like book form. And there are differences in the numbering of the chapters and verses. So I'm not sure So like if you look here, chapter 16 verse 50 is 17 verse 13 in the Aleppo. And that's part C of 13. This is part B of 13, and this is part A of 13. So 1648 is actually 1713, sorry. So if you go back, I am so sorry. So if you go back to, I guess it would be 35-ish. Nope, 36. So 36 is actually where the chapter break was in the Aleppo, which if you read this chapter, it actually makes sense to break it there. It actually, that would have been a better chapter break. And that's why I think that's adding to the issue where this chapter is like a very long chapter. It's 50 verses. And then by the time you get to chapter 17, you're in chapter 17, verse 13d. So you can
Weird.
see in the Aleppo Codex, this is a continuation of that story.
Okay. That's not confusing
So, yeah.
at all.
So actually, if I go to West Leningrad, it's 17.1, but the Aleppo 17.1 is different. So, yeah, it is kind of confusing, but I mean, if you're looking for comparing two verses, you're going to be like, this is way different than this version. Well, that's because the chapter breaks are different, because there was no chapters or verses in the original script. Those were added later. And if people disagreed on where to start the chapter, of course there would be differences. That's just where it is. All right.
All right. And Jehovah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak to the children of Israel, and take from them a rod from each father's house, all their leaders according to their fathers' houses, 12 rods. Write each one's name on his rod.
Okay. So there's a couple of ways that this can be translated, because hold on one second. A rod is a branch. Like the word literally means branch. And like it also means like shaking branch. But a branch can also be a tribe. And you'll see later on in this same chapter, it is translated as tithes or tribe. So this could be saying, speak to the children of Israel, take from them a rod from each father's house. And then it'll be according the 12 tribes rather than the 12 rods. All right. So 12 tribes, write each one's names on his rod. So it can go back and forth because rod and tribe are the same thing. It would be more appropriately to say branch. Take them from a branch from each father's house, according to the leaders of their father's houses, 12 branches. Write each one's name on his branch.
Okay.
So tribe and rod is actually branch.
Okay. And write Aharon's name on the rod of Levi, for there is one rod for the head of each father's house.
Okay.
You shall then place them in the tent of appointment before the witness where I meet you.
All right. So what is the witness? Do you remember?
No, I don't.
Okay. So the witness is the ark, because it's
Okay.
the Ark of the Covenant, and the covenant is the contract, and then it's also called the tablets of the witness, or the tablets of the testimony. So that's what this witness is the two tablets that have the contract between Yah and his people.
Okay.
So if you don't pay attention to what those stone tablets are called, the witness, then when it comes back up, you're like, what witness? Whose witness?
Yeah.
So the 10 words, called by some religious circles as the 10 commandments, those 10 words of the contract are the witness of the contract between Yah and his people. So these rods are going into the Holy of Holies. Like, it's going to that most central location, the most saturated with Yah's presence location.
Okay. And it shall be that the rod of the man whom I choose buds, and shall rid myself of the grumblings of the children of Israel, which they grumble against you.
Okay. So this is like a bursting forth, a budding or a chick. So this will burst forth from the branch that of the man that I chose. It says of the rod of the man. Yeah, of the
Yeah.
rod of the man. All right.
And Moshe
6.
and Moshe spoke to the children of Israel, and all their leaders gave him a rod each, for each leader according to their fathers' houses, 12 rods, and the rod of Aharon was among their rods.
All
So,
right.
so Moshe placed the rods before Yehovah in the tent of the witness.
Okay, so now when it says it was placed before Jehovah, the Ark of the Covenant also bore the name of the Creator because that's where he would show up. That's the meeting place of Yah, aka the Ark of the Covenant, aka the Ark of the Witness, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm. And it came to be on the next day that Moshe went into the tent of the witness and saw that the rod of Aharon of the house of Levi had budded and brought forth buds and blossomed and bore ripe almonds.
Yeah,
And
and it like it burst out and produced.
mhm.
All right.
And Moshe brought out all the rods from before Yehovah to all the children of Israel, and they looked, and each man took his rod. And Yehovah said to Moshe, Bring Aharon's rod back before the witness to be kept as a sign against the rebels, so that you put an end to their grumblings against me, lest they die.
Okay, so be back before the witness. What does that mean?
Um,
Remember what
back
the witness is.
back with the ark.
Yep. So the rod stayed with the ark. And so there's actually this thing where people think that the only thing that's in the Ark of the Covenant is going to be the quote unquote Ten Commandments, which is nonsense. But it's going to be the 10 words of the witness of the contract and the jar of manna, which we talked about, way long time ago,
Mm-hmm.
as a witness of the miracle bread, and then the budding branch of Aaron that allegedly, I mean, some people assume, and I think it's possible that it's still going to have ripe almonds attached to it in that box.
Fascinating.
Yeah. So some people, they don't know enough about the context of the scripture that it says it's not just the quote unquote Ten Commandments in there. Like, there's multiple witnesses
Mm-hmm.
of miraculous intervention.
Hmm. And Moshe did as Jehovah had commanded him, so he did.
All right.
And the children of Israel spoke to Moshe, saying, See, we shall die, we shall perish, we shall all perish.
Of course they said that.
Yeah,
They're so dramatic, I swear.
yeah. Anyone who comes near the dwelling place of Jehovah dies. Shall we be consumed to die?
Okay, so this is the way people do it. It's like either it's like we need to be in there. We need to be like in charge. We need to approach the creator. That's how it's going to be. And then like when they get a witness saying, "No, you don't get to get that close." Like you need to approach the creator, right? You need to show up during the times that I call you, and you need to present yourself if you're, asking forgiveness or whatever, but you don't get to go into the Holy of Holies. And then when they see that the houses were not blessed, as far as like they did not bud, they're like, "Oh, we're all going to die if we come near the tent." And it's like, yeah, that's the way that it gets exaggerated. Just like, religion does exactly the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
where it says you don't do this, and then they're like, "Oh, if we come even close to doing this, then we're going to die, and therefore we're going to make these new rules." And that's how religion comes to place.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of these rules are common sense. A lot of these rules, they're for our growth, our knowledge, and everything else like this, not for a condemnation of death. And this exaggeration is a perfect example of religion right here. So that's why I think this is worth investigating. But also, you know, it's not that they were putting charge as far as like they're the special people, they're the only ones that can connect with Yah. It's just they were the only ones that were allowed to be in charge of the atonement before Yah. That's the only thing that they did when they went before the Ark of the Covenant, was to bring atonement. And then if you believe in the first century New Testament witness, Yeshua repaired that breach so that there is no need to bring the atonement, because the atonement's been paid for, the covering, So then you can just approach yourself and say, I've sinned and I need forgiveness, et cetera, et cetera. And again, sin is just the separation between an individual and Yah. All right. Go through the chat real quick.
Any
FE
questions?
Nation. What's that?
I'm just saying to everybody in chat, if you got any questions.
Yes,
comments.
please write that. Yes. FE Nation, Lincoln Sharp, Zulu One, Aisling 717. What's up, Cammy? Metaphor, Sue Finelli. Good to see you, sister. La 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 la. Captain Construction, Critical Inception.
Looks like the stream went okay.
Let's see.
Despite our rough beginnings. So that's good.
Yeah. As soon as you said that, I heard a robot in your voice. So, oh my gosh. Please don't dine us now. We're almost out. All right. Geekins, John Keeley. Let's see. MT. Oh, Mountain Dew you. Okay. Miss Tribune. Mrs. Tribune. Melissa Joe. Rasta Bear. I choose Buds also. That's pretty funny. I was actually thinking the same thing when she was saying budding. I'm like, yeah, Buds. Thunder Chicken.
Buds are good.
Yep. It's like when Eve added, even if we touch the fruit, we will die. Yeah, exactly. Agreed. Yep. This is what they do. But I know it was a short chapter, but it still has relevance to us today, because you can see clearly what the description was about coming before the Ark of the Witness, the Ark of the Testimony, the Ark of the Covenant. Had nothing to do with approaching the tent or the dwelling place at all. In fact, they're commanded to come before the tent or the dwelling place for specific things like cleansing or the appointed times, or anything like that. So watch out for religion, folks. Read the book for yourself, see what it says, and try to apply it as best you can without any man interfering with that perspective. So
definitely
what do you
read
guys
the
say
book
about
for
that?
yourself.
Yep, absolutely. All right, y'all have a restful day.
Yes, thank you once again for joining me and Jack for another episode of Anti-Religious Scripture Study. And the earth is still flat.
The earth
Shabbat
is still flat.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
And have a restful day.